This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Welcome to the G-Spot Podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us for conversations around sex, spirit, and all things self-care. All things self-care. All things self-care.
This is a journey into sound.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
You are a G-Spot Podcast with Katie Silcox.
Well, hello everybody. I am here in the beautiful Outer Banks, North Carolina, and I am apologizing ahead of time for the sound of the wind and the waves. Actually, I'm not apologizing for the sound because it's really beautiful, but I just wanted to let everyone know what the sounds they are hearing in the background are. I am so happy to be here with I really feel like about this woman, like she's a long lost sister that I haven't really had the chance to really deeply get to know and have time with, but we have the amazing Nidhi Pandya here on the G-Spot today with us. She is one of our most beloved teachers here at the Shakti school. She was raised in Mumbai by her grandfather, who was an Ayurvedic healer. And so she's a very unique addition to our team because she is a direct lineage carrier of the beautiful principles of Ayurveda. And they are just so deeply etched into her heart and her psyche. And what I really love about Nidhi, who is, yes, an Ayurvedic counselor and practitioner, but really it's the passion with which she shares. And so we have an amazing course coming up with Nidhi, October. It's October, 2nd through November 6th. It's a 6-week course, and we're going to talk more about that. But I just want to welcome Nidhi to the G-Spot. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Katie. That was a very, very kind introduction. And it is such a pleasure to be talking to you, to be teaching at the Shakti school, to be connecting with you. Because like you said, when we talk, we flow. And it's the Ayurvedic energies in the universe align together and come together. And that's lovely. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, before we dive in, I'm here in the Outer Banks. And the place that I happen to be staying is I'm surrounded by all of these beautiful Jamaican women who many of them come here to work during the season here, and everywhere I turn, it's like the energies that we're just bumping into one another and have like, hey, I like your shirt, and then we start talking about healing remedies of the Jamaican women, and so I'm really wanting to just call in and shout out to the way that women from all over the world who are medicine women are coming together, and just to have that honor of being with these incredible beings. I feel really grateful. And despite her youth, Nidhi is so wise beyond her years. And Nidhi, I just want to, out of my own heart's curiosity, I grew up in the American South, and we did not have, many of my lineage's traditions have been burned, taken from us, stolen, and that has happened in the Ayurvedic tradition as well. But for the most part, you grew up in a tradition that remained intact. Mm-hmm. And so I want to know, what was your experience with Ayurveda as a young girl growing up in Mumbai?
Yeah, Katie, and I have to say that I was very privileged because Mumbai is the New York of India, which means it's modern in every sense. You have exposure to the whole world. And I grew up in the southernmost part of Mumbai, which is very, very urban. I went to a Catholic school. Somehow, my family, where my grandfather was an Ayurvedic healer, but I also lived in a joint family, which comprised of 14 people. Everybody had great intellectual, academic, and spiritual curiosity.
Wow. So lucky. Good karma.
Honestly, Katie, I literally pray every day that I do good enough in this life because to get a next one as good or not great, because I cannot imagine receiving more than what I already have in this life. Seriously.
Beautiful.
So the way we kind of grew up, right, where we embraced the changing world. My grandfather was huge. He never complained about where the world is heading to. Always embraced the great changes in the world around us and said, how can we take this information and use the principles and the background that we already have and the understanding that we have and look at everything we're doing with that light. So, everything we did was a fusion of the newness and the tradition that we held so close to our hearts. So I never felt like an oddball at school, never felt like an oddball in college. In fact, it was very easy to embrace everything because there was a concept of digging 5 levels deep. You read one book, you got to get 5 books worth. You have one conversation, it has to go 5 levels deep. And I feel like that's basically how the whole Vedas, all the Eastern sciences, looking beyond what you see and hear. And growing up like that was tremendous, and I'm really grateful for it.
So, I heard you say that your grandfather never complained about the state of the world. And I feel like that in itself is this great teaching for all of us as we live in a time where it seems like all we do is complain about the world with good reason, right? And so just kind of, I was listening to this amazing teacher this morning talk about how your mouth is actually creating miracles and how we have to actually speak favor into our lives, and we spend so much of our time talking about what's wrong. And I feel like we do the same thing with our bodies and our health. And so what I love about the deeper teachings, like you said, 5 levels deep of Tantra, of Ayurveda, is this understanding that you have power and that you can co-create with the divine. You're teaching a course on the Ashtanga Hridayam, which means this 8-fold path of the heart, but really my understanding of it, and I haven't studied it deeply, is it's really a manual for the Ayurvedic basics. And I'm wondering if there's, first of all, what is this book in summary? And then secondly, how does this relate to speaking favor into your life through your daily practices?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give a little background on Ashtanga Hridayam, right? So Ayurveda, which emerges from the Vedas, and they're the 3 oldest texts. The 3 oldest texts, which are Charak, which is really, really elaborate, that dates kind of 5,000 years or more ago. Then came Sushrut, which had to do more with surgery, the surgery aspect of Ayurveda. And then came Vagbhat, right? And the third author, or the sage, you can call him, kind of was brilliant, where he condensed everything that Charak and Sushrut had studied, evolved with the times, and put it in a verse form. Like his ability, his genius is to take, you'd say a whole manual and put it in one verse. And so the book Ashtanga Hridayam, which is in many parts, right? All of them have 8 parts, 8 different parts. And the first part that we're going to be studying is called Sutrasthan. We're studying few chapters of the Sutrasthan. So the first book is more about the principles, right? Which are timeless. Gravity is gravity. The sun rises where it rises, sets where it sets. Those will never change. So understanding principles of our body, which will never, as long as human beings are alive, these principles will exist. The first book of the series of his 8 books of Ashtanga Hridayam, the 8-part series, is the Sutrasthan, where the principles are enumerated. The rest of the 7 books are how do you use these principles, right? So there is a section on children, there's a section on women, there's just a section on herbs, on diseases, on everything, that now you have these principles that you really master, and then you kind of, as you evolve and the world evolves, you have all of these other parts, and you emerge from those principles. We evolve with those principles. So the main book that we're going to talk about, Sutrasthan, which is very beautifully, succinctly written, is that it's the most deepest fundamental foundational principles of Ayurveda, written by probably my favorite sage from back in the day, Vagbhat, and I am super excited to be teaching it. It is so close to my heart.
I love that both you and I are Ayurveda dorks and we have favorite sages, and it strikes me as beautiful to hear you say this love that you have of the ancient, and yet this understanding that we have to adapt it to modern times and modern people and even different cultures in which they're being presented in. And so I love that you and I really, we merge in that idea that it's super important to have have Ayurveda adapted to modern life. Otherwise, it feels really, even if you're an Indian woman from India, like the teaching still must be updated. So when you, so basically this book that you guys are, or the chapters that you're going to go through, it's reminding me a lot of the Yoga Sutras and the way that you're taking a distillation of these vast, kind of like the Charaka is very complex. This sounds like a distillation of that, almost like in the Yoga Sutras in regard to spiritual practice. Is that, would that?
That is absolutely right? That's absolutely right. Like with you, it's the essence. It's the essence of Charak, and adjusted to the modern times, and extremely essential. And we can talk a little bit about that, later in on our podcast. That why is it so important to go back to this if you're an Ayurveda enthusiast?
Right. Why does it matter to study the ancient scriptures if you're a modern person studying Ayurveda, particularly those of us that are studying in the West, where we may not have, as much of even familiarity or access to these teachings? Because I went to the California College of Ayurveda. I got a master's degree from the American Hindu University in Hinduism and Ayurveda. I lived in India for 6 months. And I never read these books. And so that's one of the reasons we were like, we have to have Nidhi do this book, right? And so why is it really important to go straight to the original text?
So, one of the big things is, right, a lot of the Eastern scriptures were preserved because they were not lost in translation for so many generations, right? We're kind of blocked by the Himalayas, the Afghan mountains, and the peninsula with ocean on two sides, which is pretty choppy, the Indian Ocean. So Indians, our country was not invaded. I think only in the 1400s did we really start getting invaded, 1500, right? So a lot of those scriptures, which probably everybody had, was preserved in India because of this reason, and it didn't get lost in translation, and we have access to it in our modern world. However, what I do find is that concepts, as we are doing this and making this available to the world, which is amazing, but sometimes concepts are getting lost in translation. And
can you give an example of that?
Yes, for example, right, turmeric. In a lot of schools, it's taught that you only have it with black pepper. Now, there is a certain mention of how, why, and when turmeric should be had with black pepper and when not, etc., what it can do, what it can't do. But what happens is, as it goes from person to person, word to word, the context is lost. Right? For example, Panchakarma. Like a lot of the places, Panchakarma, I know I taught the Panchakarma at Shakti school, and it was amazing to teach those ladies because they were so open to hearing about what it really is and understanding it. But in a lot of schools, Panchakarma is taught as the 5 side procedures, not as the main procedures, which is really what Panchakarma is, for example. And things are taken out of context, not deliberately, but because that's just what is going to happen when things go from mouth to mouth. So when in doubt, when you have opposing views or parallel opinions, to always go back to the basics, to go from the foundation, develops a kind of confidence, knowing, and the reasoning that Vagbhat provides in his texts is so deep that once you have that, it is such a great understanding of how this can be then applied for an Ayurveda enthusiast, practitioner, or anybody who's practicing.
So give us an example of, like, let's say, we already have like a bunch of ladies, and we can have men in this course as well, but we have a lot of ladies signed up for the course already. What can they expect to gain from doing this from a practical perspective with Ayurveda that might be different than just maybe, taking a course online about Ayurvedic basics? What makes this really unique, and what can they expect to learn?
Right. So, Katie, what happens is a lot of times, right, even people that I work with or practitioners that I work with are confused about concepts. And, every time you go online or you open another book, there are so many different views. And when you're lost with what view to take, you actually want to go back, right? Like when you're driving a car and you can't figure out something, you want to go back to the manual of the car. You cannot fix your Hyundai with an Audi manual, and you cannot. So to go back to the manual, it is the manual of how your human body functions. So when in doubt, and once you've read from the source, I call it the source. When you know what you know from the source, and you have learned, a big goal of my program, Katie, is to teach people that now when you have these principles, how do you learn to apply them to your life and to your practice and to everybody around you?
Right.
So once you've learned to apply these principles and you've gotten them from the source, there is no doubt left. Your journey is it's an upgrade. It's a severe super upgrade to your Ayurvedic journey.
Absolutely. And you know,
And
another
always you go back to it. You always know I know where I need to go back to when I'm in doubt.
I love this idea of confidence because I feel like so many people, even that take our level 1 course, are like still feeling like they don't have the confidence. And I'm always like, this lean into these teachings, lean into the lineage. And I mean, I've been looking at the course, and you know, we'll go into things like the daily routine and seasonal sciences, you know, the science of the doshas, etc. Those things that many of us already know about in Ayurveda, but getting close to the heart of these teachings. But one of the things that I wanted you to kind of expound upon that I was really curious about is this first chapter, the desire for longevity. And just this concept itself is so beautiful. Can you talk a little bit about this universal human desire for longevity?
And I have to tell you, this is like it bursts open your mind when you study this chapter, right? Because why are we studying Ayurveda, right? So the concept, some people are like, oh, I'm just going to study because I want to know what foods work for me, or I want to study Ayurveda because I'm sick, or I want to study Ayurveda because it's cool, or because I don't want to get COVID. This concept, right? The first chapter, that why is Ayurveda important? What is the bigger goal as a human life? How do you want to interact with those around you? What is the attitude you want to have? What happens for you when you practice Ayurveda? What happens for you when you teach Ayurveda? Why are we born as human beings? What does Ayurveda really mean? It kind of expands your understanding of Ayurveda, your life, your mind, your body in a very different way. And it's such an important place to start, because when you start studying Ayurveda with that understanding, it bursts open your heart and you receive in a very, very different manner.
This place of the heart is so, for me, the place where all the healing begins. You know, you can, like you said, understand your dosha or what you should eat or what herbs to take, but if the little being inside of you is in suffering unconsciously even, none of these things really work the same way as when we start to soften ourselves and start to learn how to be our own inner healer. And that really is, to me, those beginning points is, how do I tap into that softness of the heart, my own inner intuitive voice, the inner healer? And then, yes, take the turmeric or do the panchakarma or eat the pitta food list, etc. But I have found none of those things really help if you haven't accessed your heart.
So true. That's only 50%, right? What you do outside is 50%. How you receive it is 50%. Like I always say, you can get whatever you want. You can get all your ingredients, but if your oven is not working, you're not going to cook.
Oh, I love that. So the oven is your heart.
Yeah, is your ability of your heart, which really truly guides your nervous system as well, to really process everything. Your agni
Exactly.
and your heart, how well they process determines what happens to any input you take in from the world outside.
I really know this very personally. Agni and your nervous system, which is another way of saying your mind heart, is everything. Like, and I've noticed it, my nervous, when I do my trauma/emotion processing work, when I'm leaning into my body's own capacity for ojas and feeling that, like really feeling the ojas of love, and having good agni and respecting agni, honestly, secondary is what you're eating, what herbs you're taking, what you're watching on Netflix, etc. Like those two things are really first and foremost.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Exactly. And to start your journey here, or to even come back, if you started your journey, to come back to this place is restarting. It's a massive upgrade, like I said, massive renovation to your understanding of your mind, body, heart, of Ayurveda.
And another idea to throw out there is this idea of an upgrade. And I'm thinking of this text, Ashtanga Hridayam, and even being with you as a lineage carrier, which there's a potency in that, is a download. because when you begin to study the ancient text, it's as if the ancient text begins to take root in your own cellular matrix, and then you become a walking expression of the Vidya, and you're not just, you're actually getting an upgrade because of the power of the text itself. It's like a mantra almost, this
That's
word.
beautiful. Wow, that was powerful what you said, Katie. That was so powerful. And just you saying this makes me feel so grateful to have access to this. And you're so right. I feel like anybody who has the privilege to study this clearly means that a part of them is rooted from life. Unless this is with you for lifetimes, you probably will not have the opportunity to come across and have the desire to study.
Exactly. That's why all of this identity politics I want to hold so much love and respect for, and at the same time remind us that truly, according to the ancient teachings of all indigenous communities, all of us have been all of us. I know I was an Indian woman, because how in the world am I so attracted to all of this? I think just having this eagle eye vision of our infinite nature, and we've all been every color, we've all been everyone's mother and everyone's child, and then let's work on our problems right now here down on the earth. And on that note, I really want to know what, as you sit here with me today, obviously in the middle of a pandemic that hopefully we're coming out of, in the middle of a tumultuous time in American politics, in the middle of so much Kali Yuga, what do you really see as the way in which we're going off track and how we can come back?
Yeah, I mean, Katie, to me personally, it is such a reminder of your external reality will constantly change. So you better have a constant internal reality.
Yes, swaha.
Huge reminder to create a system inside of us that is home. Home is not where you live. It's not your city. It's not your country. It's not what's happening there. We're all attached to that. But when you come back to what's within you, to your ability to deal with life and everything that happens, knowing that this will all pass, and any of your contributions, any of our contributions should create a positive ripple in the environment around us. And I think that's the only dharma we have. Create a positive ripple in whichever way we can, which extends beyond that first ripple, and to keep finding that peace inside us. It has been liberating for me, this pandemic, to know how little is in our hands. It's so liberating, because it's like, why am I even trying to control anything? But what I can is what is within me. What I can work with is what is within me. And actually, honestly, it's been a game changer for me, and I couldn't be more grateful. And what is happening is unfortunate, and what will happen is unfortunate, but it's also a reminder of the responsibility I carry. And Katie, I know I'm over answering this, but I want to say one thing.
No, but keep going. This is the best.
I really want to say this from my heart. When I talk about my grandfather, Katie, he basically was one single man, just by being, never imposing, never complaining, has changed the fate, the culture, and how 14 of us in our family lived and grew up. Never imposing, not a single time asking for anything. And with those 14 people, we all have our respective families. And we are passing that on. We're trying our best to pass it on, knowing that passing on doesn't mean imposing, doesn't mean passing on means being. It's a state of being. When you establish a certain state of being, everybody around you, it kind of just, it booms, that energy just booms. Till today, every year on his death anniversary, the whole family gets together on a video call or in person. And we are all emotional, which is, we lost him 13 years ago. And we still get so emotional and grateful. It's just gratitude tears flowing, each one, for what we've seen and how we're able to inspire ourselves still today from what we've seen. So coming back to this, during our time, this is a reminder that who we become. And of course, he fought the national movement. He went to jail with Gandhi. He did all of that, my grandfather. So this is, again, he worked with Gandhi.
He wasn't passive. He wasn't passive, but he had the state of being. And that is so important, everyone listening. It's state first, then action. We have to change our state. And I mean, Nidhi, okay, please continue.
No, please. It's a flow.
No, I mean, we're speaking the exact same language, because I'm telling myself as well, I'm in this battle. I'll use that word because the Bhagavad Gita and the Christian tradition I practice uses this word battle. In my own inner being, and I feel it's reflective of the outer reality, there's a battle going on between the part of me that is fear and hate and negativity and grief. And those are valid experiences, but they can take over the thoughts. And I notice the other part of me that's light and love and kindness, and I can get into that state of being that your grandfather was in, that Gandhi was in, the Buddha was in, the Christ was in. I know that state. And what I'm realizing now, I turned 40 years old this year, is that...
Happy birthday, belated.
Thank you. I know, I look so young. You never knew, but that's actually the age. But like, my longing has changed. My longing has changed. And my longing is now, of course, I would like to have this, this, and this. But moreover, I want to walk in that state of being that I call Christ, that your grandfather called what he called it. And that being state is what actually magnetizes good things to you and transmits goodness out into the world. And you're right, people don't even consciously know this, but they experience being in it. And that's really the only desire of my heart. And Ayurveda just helps me get my body in a place where it's more likely that I'll be able to feel that love.
Yeah, your body, your mind also, and that's the other thing. And that understanding how much your mind is a part of all of this too, right? Understanding how active it is. Your mind, basically, every time you have a thought, it changes the chemistry of your body. We all know neurotransmitters, hormones, whatever you want to call them. And when the chemistry of your body is changed enough times, the biology changes. So, it is just simple science. Ayurveda is also simple science. And understanding all of this. And, so the reason why that chapter first, that desire for longevity is important, right? Is to keep perspective, Katie, that we don't get lost in the body, that we don't get lost in this obsession with finding ourselves like younger or to maintain our youth. I mean, we all, youth is about that energy that we carry. Yeah. But to understand that, hey, this body is my temple, it's my responsibility to keep it to the best of my ability, but this is not my end goal.
And to celebrate the cellulite and the wrinkles and the belly rolls and whatever happens as we age. I don't care about, it's not about what I look like. It's really about what I feel like and that capacity to hold love. I'm super curious. Well, first, before I ask this, maybe the last question, Nidhi, first I want to say I'm so excited about the course. I will be there in the course as your just humble student, very excited about this.
That's such an honor to be, talking with you, to be speaking with you during the course. Thank you, Katie.
And I hope we can have and I know we will have your grandfather there. Maybe we can bring an image of him if you have it, to just feel like the Shakti school could play a role in the continuation of his energetic state and his words and his presence in you. That really feels important to me.
Wow, that's such a gift. Thank you so much.
So Nidhi, talk as much as you want, but my last question for you is, I'm curious, and I think our listeners, walk us through what your morning routine looks like. Maybe before we end, just what does your morning look like as an Ayurvedic teacher?
Right. So
no pressure.
No pressure.
On a good day, and bad day.
Okay.
Some days are not good. Yeah.
No, Mondays are a good day. I'm always back on the horse on Monday. Okay. I would say only Saturday mornings are not good. Okay. Pretty much every day. I try at least 5 out of 7 days, which is a good day. I wake up. I actually don't drink anything. I brush my teeth. I do something called a toothbrush meditation, which is really grounding yourself. I do get on my phone.
What is a toothbrush meditation? Oh, you feel grounded as you brush your teeth.
Yes, and I actually had that on my post today, that, when you don't get time, and I actually do have a meditation practice, but it's such a good way to kind of ground your feet, come back, feel the sensations. A lot of people who are busy, who don't have the time, that's my recommendation. So that's the first thing that I do my tongue cleaning, do my nasya. And the first thing I do is I do my meditation. I have anywhere, depending on the day, 45 minutes to an hour and a half practice, hour and 15.
Wow, that's a long meditation.
But I really do. And the reason why I say this with the timing is because, Katie, I've learned that the minute you go beyond those first 40 minutes, something changes. Like, I don't know what happens, but that state goes much deeper. For years, I only did 30 minutes, 20 minutes. But whenever I did do an hour and a half, or I went for a whole Vipassana course, I realized what that gives you, that deeper state, is tremendous. So yeah, I have that thing. Then I do breath work right after my meditation. Then I know I meander for some time. I get on the mat. I have a little prayer. When I get all of these things done, and when I pray, what I do is I try and invoke energies. So I have, my granddad's picture. I have I have 3 goddesses. And the way I pray is I say, I want to invite these energies in my life, So I literally feel the sensations in my heart as I pray, and I imagine those energies in my life. I pray to Lord Dhanvantari, and that's basically just invoking the energies of healing, remembering that this is all through me, not from me. And then then I come back to my glass of milk, my soaked and peeled almonds, and it's always a warm cup of milk, always spiced depending on the season, and a date or 2. That is my morning breakfast, to be honest.
So you have warm milk spiced. You have how many? You have 6 almonds, 10 almonds.
I have like 15 or 20 because I've had them for many years.
20 almonds. You have a couple of dates, and is that your breakfast?
That is my breakfast. The one thing I did forget to say is right after I do my yoga, I have a spoon of Shatavari Ghruta. That's a Shatavari ghee. And, if I am taking any herbs, which now currently I am, otherwise I'm not always taking herbs, but they're mostly like, I would say rasayanis or like tonic herbs, then I would take them in the morning. But I have my Shatavari Ghruta right after my breath work and exercise because, your channels are most open to receive. They're all heated up and open to receiving. And then this is my breakfast, is my warm cup of milk.
So I'm so excited. I'm so curious. So what time do you wake up?
Most days, 5:30. Yeah.
And then you go to bed around when? Is there a nighty-night routine?
There is no night routine. I'm with my kids. So my night is very slow, right? I believe that the energies of the earth, the grounding energies, are really high between 6 and 10. That's the morning kapha time of the day, evening kapha time of the day.
Right.
And my evenings are very slow with the kids, where these days we try and cook together. We sit and talk. If there's some introspection required, I'm trying to do more and more of that introspection. I'm crazy. So I have something called a life plan written down every year, where it's like, okay, where am I? What are my belief systems? What do I want out of my life? And then I just read that to see where I went out of alignment with it, just as a reminder. And then we actually, Katie,
this sounds very sattvic. Last night I
watched
like 2 hours of Netflix last night.
So I actually don't watch any TV. So that's the thing, right?
That is one of my goals, to give up TV. I'm addicted to it.
My goal is to start watching a little bit because I'm part of it. But
you can be in it?
So no, not in it, because I'm like, I feel like sometimes I want to just not be like, this is what I want to do sometimes. Yeah. On the plane, I love it. On the plane, I'm like back to back watching a lot of TV. But at home, I just don't get to TV because I'm obsessed with this. Okay, I need to wake up and, not like use this time, which is a little crazy. But I do end my day with my girls reading one page from my grandfather's biography. So that's what we do every night before I sleep. And that's probably my favorite routine to do, is give them
is there a book about your grandfather?
It was just like for family. Like my father wrote it, and we just kind of had it, so that all the kids, the generations that have not met him, are able to read about him. So I read a page from his book to my girls. We have a little lavender massage, and healing, and then we get to bed. And I wouldn't trade my evening routines. But I'll be honest with you, the whole thing happens only 4 days, 4 or at the most 5 days a week.
Okay, so then the other days, what's happening?
Thursdays, I always have somebody over for dinner, a friend or something. Thursdays is my quiet night. My girls are not with me. Friday night, I go out.
Wow, I love it.
So I always go out Friday night. Saturday morning is a super chilled morning. I'll probably go out I will meditate, but I will go for a walk. I might skip my yoga practice. I really take it super slow on Saturday. I have my morning standard lives on my Instagram channel. But I don't know, I wake up on Saturdays and it's just really fun because I'm not working.
So
I take it super slow. Saturdays is super slow.
Thank you so much. This has been so great. And I feel like we're going to get so many people that just really resonate with this message. And I look forward to being able to spend 6 weeks with you. And we're going to put a link in the notes to your website and also our course that we have coming up with you and Instagram and all that good stuff. Thank you so much, Nidhi.
Thank you so much, Katie. I just want to say one thing before we go. I feel like
Please.
talking to you, there's something that when I talk to you, my heart opens and I feel like I talk from my heart, and I really am grateful, and I want to thank you for that.
Oh, I feel the same way. And, I had this insight yesterday being with these Jamaican women and just really feeling like it's really kind of not to divide us into us versus them, because we're always oscillating. But I had this insight of like, there are really people on this planet that try to live from love and light and embrace their fear and go forward into using their righteous anger and not denying anything or spiritually bypassing anything. But there's really two types of people. One is that people who are in the light and we recognize one another. We see one another. Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with where your background is. It's just we see one another. And I felt so at home, and I feel like they felt at home. And I feel like that's really what I'm interested in uplifting and doing here at Shakti School, and while at the same time dealing with our problems down here in the real world.
You're so right. Oh my God, Kate, you're so right. That light attracts light. Wow. Yeah. Wow, I love it. It's going to stay with me.
And light recognizes light.
Light recognizes light. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it and you can feel it, more importantly, in your heart. I just will end with one thing. Yesterday I was walking through the parking lot and this lady, she looked at me, and I was having a really bad day actually. And she, in that battle between, am I going to go negative or I'm going to love myself and feel God running through me? And I was praying, there's George, in the Beatles, like this song, like, God, why does it take so long sometimes for you to come to me, And this woman looked at me, and I'm doubting God, and she said, hey, I really like your outfit. You look beautiful today. And I was like blasted by her. I mean, the words didn't matter. She was just an angel, really, reminding me.
Reminding you.
If you're chin up, it's all going to work out. And so I think we're just here to remind one another and be reminded.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and I'm so glad you had her. Sometimes it takes an outside source to remind us of of what we're not looking at.
Exactly. Well, Nidhi, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to being with you deeply in the future here at Shakti School. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Katie.
होते फूल अपन सुखे होते फूल